Hey guys, welcome to the Commercial and Coffee Podcast. Today I have a really good friend of mine, a very dear friend. I would always say family because you've been through so much with
Thank
us.
you so much.
Pablo Pomes, right here, guys,
Thank you, thank
in the
you.
house live with us. Pablo, thank you for coming in today.
My pleasure. Believe me, it's an honor.
You know, Pablo, I've known your family for many, many years.
That's
and,
right.
and honestly, it's been so long, I don't remember how we met, but I do remember that we kind of kicked it off and kind of clicked from the very first moment. I know your son, his name is Michael, so is mine, right?
Yeah, that's
Yours
right.
is in the business. Mine is, I'm trying to get him into my business. So we have a lot of similarities, especially with our family values and that. That's one of the things that really attracted me to our friendship and what we do. But now you're in commercial, and you've been in commercial for some time now. Even when I first met you, you already had commercial properties, right?
Yeah, the very first property I ever bought just happened to be a commercial building.
Really? Your very first one?
My very first one.
See-
And I bought it not knowing anything and just to occupy it.
Oh, okay.
But it
so-
was my very first purchase.
Really?
It's crazy.
You know, I hear it all the time, and people say it all the time. If you're going to buy property, and I told my kids the same thing. Your first property should be an investment property. I've always mentioned that. Always buy your first property should be an investment property, right? I told my daughter, she didn't listen. So I'm hoping that my son does. I hope your son does. And I think he did, right? I think that you guys
He ended up
bought it
buying-
in a second property recently, right?
Correct.
And not too far from you, right?
Right.
Tell me about that property.
This particular property was in escrow for 13 months.
13. My longest I've had was 12 months, which was a year
Wow.
on one investment property that I bought. So tell me about this one. 13 months. Why so long?
They already had an escrow open with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
They failed to tell me initially, and then they locked them up. And so, but I had a vision for the property. There were a
Mm-hmm.
lot of obstacles that went through in those 13 months. But, we're all about what you are about,
Mm-hmm.
building relationships. And I was able to build a relationship with the realtors and even the owner.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I had a vision for it, and now it happens to, we closed after 13 months of struggling. And but now it's our headquarters.
Oh, I saw it. I drove by the other day. The outside, you did an amazing. The
Thank you.
facade, it looks amazing on the outside. It's a
Thank
beautiful
you.
property. And I remember when you were just closed. I drove by, and you showed me the inside of it. You were under construction.
That's right.
I didn't know at the time that was going to be your new
You
headquarters.
were driving around the corner, and I said, "Hey!" And
Yeah,
you stopped in.
remember that?
It was totally unexpected.
You know, it's amazing, but there's an old saying, Pablo, that says, good things come to those who wait, right? And you had the patience, but most importantly, I think you had the vision of what you wanted with that property. And it worked out at the very end, right? With
It
this
worked
particular
out. I
property.
definitely had the vision. I wanted to move my staff there. And I had a lot of good friends give me advice, hey, it's time to let it go. And they meant well, okay? They were giving me their heartfelt advice. However, because of the vision, like you say, I held on a little longer. And there was a point where I almost let it go, but
I
the
went
good
through
Lord.
I went through something very similar with the property I purchased. It was a probate, and I was looking at this property, and I knew that I was getting a good deal, but I knew it had to go through probate, and I knew it had to go through court, and it might be open to other investors coming in at the last minute and upbidding the price. So I was a little worried about it, and we were almost a year in. I think it was about month 8, where I was really going to walk away from it. But I did have a vision for it as well. And sometimes I think that a lot of investors, they confuse their vision, right, with their dream, right? Because I know a lot of like, oh, I want to buy an investment property. That's my dream. That's what I want to do. And they buy the wrong property, right? You had a vision for what you wanted to create with your property. I had a vision what I wanted to do with this one. So we stuck it out. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I think you as an investor and buying more commercial properties and me out there as an investor, we got to know what we're going to do with that property and have a very clear vision of what it is. But I think a lot of first-time investors, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, or if you've experienced this, they still buy an emotion, right? They don't have a vision
I agree,
for it.
yeah,
They don't
you're
have a
right.
vision for it, right?
Right,
Like when
correct.
you knew this property, when you saw it, right? You knew what your plans were for it and what it would mean for your business. It would increase your volume. It would increase your sales. It would make it more convenient for your clients. It would make it more convenient for your staff. It will make it more convenient for you.
The staff has become like family. I also have family in there. So that property was going to stabilize. You know,
you go.
because we were going from renting to owning. And that's a big deal for every business owner.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But you had that vision,
Right.
You had that vision, and you knew exactly what you were going to do with that property. And I think as investors out there and new first-time investors, they still buy on emotion, right? Like, I want to get in on this, not really looking at what's the vision for that property. I knew the vision that I had for the property I was going to buy. I knew exactly what I was going to do to every apartment. I knew exactly how I was going to market it. And it turned out to be a great investment. It's probably one of the best investments that I picked up in a very long time.
Beautiful.
Beautiful property, pristine little 5-unit complex, two structures. But it ended up being $1 million play. And when I tell people, what do you mean it was $1 million play? It was $1 million play. There's over 1 million, by now it's probably 1.5. Over 1.5 in equity sitting in that property.
Beautiful.
And I know that you have your kids in your business and you have grandkids.
Yeah.
And I've seen what you've done with your investments. You're looking at building generational wealth, aren't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, in this particular example that you're giving us, where you're talking about vision, our why was bigger than our how. You see what I mean? So
Yeah, wait. I want to pause a minute there because I love what you just said. Guys, these are golden nuggets that you really need to pay attention to. I mean, what he's telling you right now, I honestly can change your life. What was that? Your
why? Our why was bigger than our how. In other words, why were we doing it? We were doing it for our families. We were doing it to stabilize our people, our staff, which is like family to us. We were doing it to continue to grow, right? So our why was bigger than how to get there. We had a lot of obstacles. You went 12 months jumping hoops and obstacles.
And like you, I had people like, why are you still in it?
Yeah.
Why don't you quit? Why don't you cancel? Go buy another property, right? I had the same thing.
And the reason is because the vision that we had fueled our why. Our why was stronger than how we're going to get there. Because a lot of people are afraid to jump in because they say, well, what am I going to do if this happens or that happens or whatever? Don't worry about that. Jump in, and as you move along your path, you're going to figure that out. So our vision in this particular case, look at you. You made $1 million play. That doesn't come often, but you waited it out. You had your vision. And you succeeded.
And my why, like you said, was bigger than the how, right? I didn't know how. I didn't have all the pieces put together for that puzzle, right? But when it was all said and done, it was a beautiful picture, right?
Perfect.
And my why, and I hope you share yours, my why is I want generational wealth for my kids, right?
Sure.
And I know you were similar with your vision, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I have grandkids, and they're little, and I'm already telling them, look, Grandpa's doing this. They call me Awi, okay, because they can't say grand. So Awi's doing this, I'm doing that, and they're looking at me, and they don't understand or something. But, you know, they're all in there somehow. And the 8-year-old the other day, it clicked. And he says, oh, you're buying that property? Yeah, I am. You want to see it? Yeah, I do. And so, you know, you get them interested. And, you know, I want them to become whatever they wish, okay? But it never hurts to learn.
You know what? It never hurts to learn, but our investments and our career. I mean, I know you're in insurance, but you're a real estate investor.
Yes.
You know, you're a real estate investor. I've been in lending, I've been in real estate, but I've also been a real estate investor, and I love that our industry and our investments have been able to give us the opportunity to give our children what we didn't have, right?
That's right.
You said your son is in your business, right? Mine just started here 2 days ago.
Wonderful.
Right? He just started here 2 days ago. 2 days ago.
Beautiful.
He actually just graduated from Pepperdine with his MBA. So he went to his undergrad at Laverne University, did his 4-year, got his bachelor's, went to Pepperdine, got his MBA.
Beautiful.
But all that was possible, Pablo, because of our investments.
That's right.
The real estate that we've been investing and buying throughout the years, right? And you said you were a grandfather, right?
Yes, I am.
Well, guess what? I'm going to be a grandfather for the first
Congratulations.
time, guys. For the very first time, I'm going to be a grandfather.
Congratulations.
It's any day now. It's
Oh
any
my
day
God.
now. But
Beautiful.
it only strengthens the why.
That's right.
It only strengthens the why. And that's why I was so glad when I told you, Pablo, would you come on our podcast? Because I know that you've already been there and you can guide someone like me. How do I continue building the generational wealth and passing on that legacy to the next generation, whether it's my kids or my grandkids, right? How did you do it? And what do you have in store for the future that I can replicate? Right? I want to replicate your success.
Oh, no. I want to replicate yours. No, one thing that you have is you're very genuine. And that's one of the keys, I think, to success. Being genuine. In fact, I told a couple of people before coming on your podcast that I was going to do this. And what they said was, hey, you know what? Jesse's a very classy person. He's reliable. And you have a very, very good notion of what you are. So you have a good face out in the community. And that's fantastic.
Well, thank you. I need to send them a check or something for that good endorsement,
You
right?
know, these are people that have known you through the years because we are in the same business and we've been around for a while. So we have come across these people at one point in our lives, you know. But the bottom line is, in order to create generational wealth, you have to have a long time vision. It can't be something short. We have to be like the Japanese. The Japanese have a long time vision. And you know, there's an old saying that I followed for many years, and we'll translate it. I learned it in Spanish. It says, la disciplina, tarde o temprano, vencerá la inteligencia, which means discipline, sooner or later, will beat intelligence. And so you don't have to be the sharpest tool in the box, but as long as you keep trying and you learn something new every day and you stay at it, stay consistent like you have, you know, I think that's one of the keys to success, Jesse.
Guys, didn't I tell you this man was going to drop some knowledge today? Pablo, that's amazing. I'm glad that you're bringing all these tips and these nuggets up because there's a lot of people out there that are thinking about getting into investing in commercial real estate or even getting into real estate in general, right? Because I know that your son is now getting into doing commercial sales, right? They're doing commercial sales. You guys are looking at becoming, not becoming, but you already are commercial brokers. I know that I have people that are family members that are reaching out to me now. You know, my nephews and nieces are all grown up now, and they're like, hey, uncle, how did you get in there? How can you help me, right? So I know that those people out there listening to you today are getting all these little nuggets that not will only get them maybe started in their commercial real estate career or real estate career in general, but investing and looking at that long term and building that wealth.
Right.
Now, another thing that has allowed, that I've noticed, and I want your take on this as well, is, and I say it all the time in our meetings, is your network is your net worth, right? Just the fact that I got the privilege of getting to know you and your family, your lovely wife,
thank you,
your kids. I've been to your home.
Yes,
you know, you've been there with me through all the challenges that we face in our home, and things that have happened in our life, illnesses and things like that. And you've been there, and I truly believe that your network is your net worth. I want to hear your take on that with the network of individuals that you've built around you, whether it's your staff, right, family members, or business associates that have helped you with your career in investing.
Well, you know, we're all about building relationships and having that long-term view. You want to treat everybody with fairness. You have a picture up here on your office that talks about, is this the 4 rules or something like this? Number 1, is it fair for everybody? Number 2, is it, you know, so you want to treat people as you want to be treated. And building relationships is what this game is all about, because we are also in the people business, right? So developing trust and what people think of you out there is extremely important. And so you have to work hard to keep that going. So relationships and long-term vision is extremely important. And, you know, I'm a firm believer of a lot of sayings, and one saying that I read many years ago is that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've heard that one. Yes.
yeah, you know, and
That's
so
a great one.
it
That's a good one.
is. It is. You know, you can be extremely talented, but if you get lazy and you don't work hard and you're not on your game, you know, you're gonna do. What is it? You're not going to do the best job for your clients. The service. That's the
Yes,
word
the
I was
best
looking
service,
for.
yes.
So you have to stay on your game. You have to
Let
move
me ask you a
forward.
question because I know that I do it all the time. Your sayings and your quotes. Do you share that with your son and
All the time.
and your family, trying to
My
help them develop?
grandkids, everybody, everything.
I do the same because I'm telling you, we have so many similarities.
Similarities, yeah.
That's the reason why we kind of gravitated your family and our family together.
Absolutely.
Because I usually tell my kids, and I've always told everybody around me, when we're looking at doing something like I don't want to do it or I'm not in the mood. I'm like, would you rather be broke or would you rather be tired? What do you want to do, right? And I would always say that. Would you rather be broke or would you rather be tired? And to me, it was just in conversation. But what I notice now is my daughter now is an adult, and she's in commercial real estate. She's in commercial real estate doing development, property management, all that. And my son just finished.
Wonderful.
And now I hear them saying it all the time. And every time they say it, it gets my attention. Like, hey, wait a minute. I used to tell them that when they were 5 years old, right? Right? When I would tell them, hey, go to this open house with me. Oh, I don't want to go. Do you want to be broke or do you want to be tired, right? And it sticks with them. So all these little nuggets,
That's
guys,
great,
right?
man.
It's
I
all
love
these
it. I
little
love it.
nuggets that you're telling us today. They do stick with the family members, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It does help develop their vision on long-term growth.
Absolutely.
Right? Long-term investment and actually that work ethic that you need, right? To be, what did you say? Consistent.
Consistency.
Right? Consistency.
Absolutely,
Consistency, yeah.
absolutely. And you know, there's nothing wrong about doing something and you become successful quickly. But I am a firm believer, and that's fine. And if that happens, God bless you for it. And hopefully you have the know-how to maintain that and continue. Because sometimes when you become successful very quickly, you know, it's, I've heard from some people that it could potentially be a recipe for not doing all that well because you think that everything. But, you know, I've heard it said that, you know, if you are a long-term thinker and you become successful over time, that builds character, as opposed to being successful extremely quickly, that builds ego. So, I don't know that I totally agree with it, but, you know, one step at a time, learning something new every day, like the Stoics do, you know, that's what's wonderful.
You know, Pablo, I appreciate you being here today.
Oh, thank you.
You gave a lot of great nuggets to everybody out there on our commercial and
thank
coffee
you.
podcast. I hope that they take that information and apply it because, like I said, you're a success story that I want to replicate.
No, I want to replicate yours.
Not only in your business, but also in your family life.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you,
appreciate your
Jesse.
friendship.
No.
I appreciate you being here.
Thank
It was
you.
amazing, guys. Stay tuned for the next one because you're going to get guests like this that not only been there, but done it, but most importantly, are living that dream. So thanks again. my
Oh,
friend.
thank you, buddy.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.